Hey YouTube, today we're going to look at 4 different Green Wing base set Pokemon booster boxes. We're going to look at some of the differences on the shrink wrap. We're going to look at the weights of them on a scale, and that way we've got this information while we've got 4 different versions of Green Wing Charizard base set boxes available. Hopefully you all find this information super helpful for the future in case you're buying a box yourself. You can weigh your boxes so that way you know that maybe they're not stuffed incorrectly with the improper weights and things like that. Now, what's important to understand in this video is that we're going to be using an A&D scale. Now, this particular version of the A&D scale has a maximum tolerance weight of 12,000 grams. So this thing weighs in pounds and ounces and grams and things like that, penny weights if you're into jewelry. So you gotta have something like this in order to become this accurate. As you can see, this goes down to 3 decimals. 3 decimals. So you're gonna see 3 decimals worth of weight. Your standard scale that say you weigh yourself on every morning usually doesn't go to more than 1/10 of an ounce, so 1 decimal or maybe just a whole number. So you're gonna wanna get a scale like this if you wanna be this accurate. So what we're gonna start with is the original base set first edition booster box. This is the cream of the crop, the holy grail for booster boxes for English Pokemon. This is the most coveted box that everybody wants, and it is still the same box. We call it the Hawaiian box that we bought on July 9th, 2020. And so we're gonna show you all the weight differences and what we would expect. I was hoping that when we got this box, when we brought it back here, that it would weigh 1.735 pounds. That was the goal. I mean, obviously it can be off maybe a hair slightly, but we wanted it to be that weight. When we were testing it remotely, we were only able to verify that it was 1.7 pounds. We weren't able to go all the way down to 3 decimals. So it's gonna be neat to see what the weight is when we put it on this video. So I'm gonna showcase the first edition base set box. So you can see, you've seen the top. Here's the side. So pay attention to the shrink wrap here and see how it's wrapped. See the shrink wrap, okay? And then we're gonna go to the back so you can see how that's wrapped as well. You can see, and it's interesting to note kind of how this shrink wrap is kind of rigid and the way that it's made, if you can kind of see that. Maybe get it at an angle there a little bit. Yeah, there you go, so we can see it. Okay, now we're gonna go to the Blastoise side of the box. See the shrink wrap there. And remember, base set first edition boxes were only made with clear shrink wrap. So if you ever see one with wizard shrink wrap or something different, unfortunately, it is not authentic or it's been resealed. So you can see the front of the box here. This is the Hawaiian box again. So unfortunately, the bottom left corner's got a crush. We don't think the cards inside the packs got hurt because of the way packs are. They've got the extra flap on the top and bottom of the packs, so should be fine. You can see the bottom of the box. Note the perforation here. You see the perforation all along there on the bottom of the box and the way it's laid out. And then one thing to point out on authentic boxes is that they have, we call them, pips, or, the indentations like of the cardboard for when you put it on a retail display. You can see it. You can see these if I press down. There should be 5. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You've got those pips. Okay, so we've been around the box. Now here's the truth. We want it to weigh 1.735. That's our goal. Let's see what it does. Boom, 1.735 pounds for the base set first edition booster box. Now, you need to have a bunch of these side by side to determine, does every single one of them weigh that? I would think so. We would think so. We hope so. So it'd be interesting as time goes, as people weigh their boxes down to 3 decimals, probably have to go to a science lab or somewhere special. Do they weigh exactly this? Okay, so Green Wing Charizard, base set, first edition, shadowless box. Check, we've done that. Okay, the next one we're gonna do is what we call a guaranteed shadowless booster box. So in between base set, first edition, and the unlimited set, they had a set that we now call shadowless. And the cards look identical to base set first edition cards, except they don't have the first edition stamp. And some people argue that the shadowless cards are actually more rare than the base set first edition. Nobody really knows, because as far as we know, Wizards of the Coast, who printed these, never released the actual production numbers. So that's an argument. We'll see what happens. But everybody loves first edition the best, so their value's always much higher. But very tough to find. Now the reason we call this a guaranteed shadowless box is because we actually bought this box in a full sealed case. And when we cracked the case, we decided to pack out the first box. We realized they contain shadowless cards. And that's generally how they run. So that would mean that the rest of the boxes that were in the case would also be shadowless. And so we have sold since the rest of the packs and the rest of the boxes. This is the last box we have. We've been saving it for videos, things like this, saving it for reference, so we have it. And so that you all can see all the differences between all the different versions of Green Wing boxes. And I know that there's about a dozen different ones. Now, what's important about this to notice, I want you to look at the shrink wrap here. If I wasn't, and it didn't get completely sealed, then that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, these were made in mass quantity and mass volume. They weren't made to be perfect. I know some collectors out there want a perfectly sealed box. Sorry, they don't all come perfect. But what's interesting about this box is if you notice how weird the shrink wrap is. When we first saw this, we were like, that's interesting. But we busted the factory sealed case, so we knew that it wasn't resealed. We knew that it wasn't tampered with or anything. So remember, there's heat involved a lot of times, you know, when they're shrink wrapping and stuff. So that bubbling that happened on this was actually on all of the boxes that came out of the case. So you might see we've sold some of our good customers. We've actually sold them some of these boxes. So if you see one that's got shrink wrap like that, I know it might be alarming at first, but believe it or not, in this particular case, it's authentic. We're going to go to the back of the box and notice there's a lot of similarities. I'll even put the base set first edition box right here next to it. So this is the, as you can see, the base set first edition box. We're going to put it here and you can see kind of how the ridges are where we already went over that. And you can see a very similarity here as it goes along that line. So I'm going to go back to the shadowless box here. We're going to go to the Blastoise side. We're going to look at that shrink wrap and you can see obviously here it's not completely sealed. That's okay. You know, these boxes have become super rare, very tough to find. I mean, the market availability on things like shadowless boxes and things like that are super, super rare. And so, you know, it's tough to be super picky if you're wanting a completely sealed box. You may find a completely sealed box and then it might not be guaranteed shadowless, you know, or things like that. And so here's the front of the box. This is the guaranteed shadowless box. And then we're going to go to the bottom. Should have one country code, which it does. All right. And then I think we did that whole deal there. So I'm going to set the guaranteed shadowless box over there. I saw one on eBay for about $70,000. Not so sure that that's what they're worth today, but if they are worth, you know, $70,000, you want to make sure that the person would give you a money back guarantee or something like that if it was a shadowless box. Okay, so we have two other, as you can see here, two other Green Wing Green Wing boxes. I don't want to say shadowless. So these present the possibility of being shadowless, but they're two different versions. Okay, so both of these have wizard shrink wrap. Now remember what I said earlier. Base set first edition was only made with clear shrink wrap. Okay, and I know the glare is kind of getting on that thing. All right, that's how they come. Now when they switched to and the shadowless box also had clear shrink wrap. That's normal. But when you get to unlimited, when they went to the transition, those boxes has wizard shrink wrap. However, there are some rare cases that we've seen where you open up a Green Wing Charizard box like these that has wizard shrink wrap where you get shadowless cards. We've seen that before. It's rare, but you see it from time to time. And then what's interesting about these two boxes is this one here has one country code, just like the shadowless box did, which gives it a higher probability that it could contain shadowless cards, okay? Like the base set first edition, and this one has 6 country codes. See it? You see the whole box. Okay, now, the one thing we didn't do is we didn't weigh all the rest of the boxes. So let's do that just for everybody's viewing pleasure. We already weighed the first edition. So this, as you can see, this is the shadowless base set guaranteed box that we would guarantee contains all shadowless cards. 1.735. That's kind of ironic. Interesting. Okay, now I'm going to switch this. I'm just curious if we go into grams. Now it doesn't go to the decimal, 787 grams. Okay, so now I'm going to put the first edition base set box back on the scale in grams. Just kind of curious here. 787. Interesting. Okay, now let's start off since we're in grams, and we're going to go with the first wizard shrink wrap box that has one country code on it. Let's see what that weighs in grams. Probably has a different weight. Yeah, a little bit different. Notice the difference. Slot machine, 777. Now, I'm going to go to pounds, just so we can, 1.71. Interesting. So the other two boxes were 1.735. This is 1.71. Now, remember, unlimited base set packs are a little bit different. So maybe there's a slight difference in weight. Maybe that's a telltale sign that this box might not have shadowless cards. That's possible. Maybe it does, and maybe there's some intricacy of the shrink wrap because it's wizard shrink wrap. Maybe that's a little lighter. Like that, you know, when you're going down to 3 decimals, it could be possibly that much lighter. You just never know. So there's that. And now we're going to do the last one, which is the wizard shrink wrap with the 6 country codes on the bottom. This one kind of has a little, you can see like a tear. It's almost like a price sticker was there. Somebody ripped off a price sticker, if you can see that. Like that. And I'm going to weigh this here in pounds. 1.735. Wow. So that almost like would make someone possibly believe it could be shadowless. It's green wing like it's supposed to be, right? 1.735. There we go. And that was the one with the 6 country codes. I put it this way so it's easier to see. And then I can also change this to grams. So that one's 788, so a little bit different. Okay, everybody, we wanted to, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and most importantly, that it was informative. We do have a blue wing box, but we wanted to keep the green wings together. And we hope everybody enjoyed the fact that you've got 4 different green wing factory sealed Pokemon booster boxes that you can refer to. And hopefully through the test of time, everybody that needs help in determining the weights and the differences can refer back to this video for the test of time. Okay, thank you for watching. Happy collecting, everybody. Don't forget to visit collectorscash.com.